Today, the nationalist socialist government of Scotland has seen fit to convict a man named Marcus Meechan for the crime of making fun of Nazis. I'll repeat that. Count Dankula, my good friend and colleague, who lives under a nationalist socialist government, has been convicted of a hate crime for making fun of National Socialists. All of that was true. It's not munted news this time. Yes, I'm munted, but everything I just told you is factually accurate. The only deceptive wordplay there was not placing the invisible hyphen between nationalist and socialist. But don't let the wordplay distract you, folks. If this atrocity, if this scandal was committed by an anti-socialist, anti-nationalist government, it would be no less fucking egregious. I don't have time to put the cartoon together, so you're just going to have to imagine the silhouetted vision of Sergeant Atkins hoarsely soliloquizing to Corporal Blenkinsop as they both lie dying in the fecal-soaked trenches, watching as their friends get fragged to death. It's all worth it, Blenkinsop. If it wasn't for the heroic, selfless deeds of you and me and men like us, if it wasn't for the sacrifice we're laying down on the once green fields of this continent, if we don't do this, Corporal, then one day our descendants will live in a country in which it's a crime to make fun of Nazis. I am transcendently angry, folks. I act all angry for the camera and stuff, but I've never been this genuinely angry before. Have you ever been so angry that it makes you sick? Literally sick. Like that feeling that would accumulate in the eyes and become tears of rage. Instead, it all just sucks down and buries itself in your stomach and makes you just want to puke the world. This is serious now. This is where we put down the comedy props for a second to go, hang on! What the fuck just happened? I've had fun. Genuinely, I've had fun passing the time these last few months, years even, having some bants and some memes and some drama, capriciously marbling this surface tension of fevered egos on the internet, and having a cockney knees up about it every now and again. But I hope you can all see now how pointless all this shit is when the chips are down, and the chips are down now. It's happening. We are a generation of, nerfed just shut-ins. Our idea of a social consequence is being blocked on Twitter. You insulted my mother, I'm gonna unfriend you on Facebook. Pow, how'd you like them apples? Barely 30 years ago, that kind of thing would get you a filled-in face as standard, but we're in a generation that doesn't have to deal with real-world consequences like that. Well, it just got real. More real than it's got for any generation of comedians in living memory. Yeah, a lot of comedians, and especially artists, are the sort of, lefty, worldly type to have noticed at some point that we have it pretty good over here. We are blessed, dare I say privileged, not to live in one of those authoritarian countries over there, where many kinds of art are banned, or where artists can go to prison for the things they express artistically, where people are just convicted on demand, even for the things they say passive-aggressively, through the art of satire. We hear about this going on in other countries, and we give thanks and prayers that we live in such a soft, pampered society where you can say whatever you like. Tom York, are you listening? No, you're not listening, but I remember you saying this in an interview like 20 years ago, how ironic it is that while other countries are imprisoning and executing their artists, we, as popular musicians in this political climate, have the opportunity to say whatever we like about the political state of the world. And yet most of us are using this opportunity to say hokey shite about whatever, sex and party and shit. Well, here we are. 20 years later, and it's too late. It's all of a sudden, we became one of those countries where a man can make fun of a certain kind of government, and a certain kind of government convicts him of hate crime. And in the meantime, what are they talking about in popular music and television? Still hokey shite. Hokier shite than ever. This is barely different from what Europe would look like if the Nazis had won the war. It wouldn't... I know we want to think it would be all skulls and cathedrals and Wagner and shit, but it wouldn't. It would be like this. It would be unbearable, colourful shite made to distract you from what the government is doing to you. So I honestly don't even know how ironic it is, or even how, even if it is ironic. In the case of Scotland, in the current year, the first place in Western Europe to convict a man for making fun of Nazis, the government involved does actually call themselves nationalists and socialists. Is it even wordplay that I'm doing there? Is it even a coincidence? Or has this nationalist, socialist shit just emerged from an underground colony where it's been plotting its revenge this whole time? Now, I'm confused, see? I just called the SNP party Nationalist Socialists. Yeah, I went there. I called them National Socialists. I called them Nazis. And as you've probably picked up, I am not doing that as if to say the SNP is great. The SNP is innocent and righteous and they should rule the world. No, I'm saying the SNP are Nazis, and I'm saying it so as to insult the SNP. I should think that much is obvious. So, should I get a good look of this place? One last time before I get hauled off in handcuffs. Because as we now know, if you make fun of someone or something, but for being a Nazi, or if you make someone or something look like a Nazi because you don't like Nazis, you've committed a hate crime in this fucking cock-ass island formation that we very tentatively call the United Kingdom. Okay. Now, we are going to do something about this. We're going to do many things about this. It's early days before we can confirm anything, but we've been saying for months now, if Dankula goes down, we go IRL. We get off our asses, see if we can escape the YouTube bubble and actually create some people, maybe even a sea of people, in a place where they will be seen and maybe even listened to. And in principle, by the way, Dankula has already gone down. He hasn't been sentenced yet, but that's not till April the 23rd. But that he is even convicted of this is enough. The idea that any judge, on any given guidelines, would do anything but laugh this out of court on day one, let alone give a guilty verdict, is long since more than enough. The idea that a man could go to prison to line up alongside rapists and murderers for the crime of making fun of Nazis is more than enough. By the way, I don't want to make this any more morbid than it already is, but Tommy Robinson will tell you, if you are someone who has publicly spoken out against Islam, if you're one of those people, then a sentence in a British prison carries a bloody good chance of being a death sentence. Unless you are very vigilant about where you are kept in relation to the other prisoners. Because quite a lot of the other prisoners are Muslims. That guy who got prison time for putting bacon on a mosque, he got prison time for putting bacon on a thing? Yeah, that guy died in prison. Under circumstances not exactly mysterious. Had any of you thought of that yet? Am I the first to point that out in your conscience? Yeah, see that sick feeling in your stomach? That's the anger I'm talking about. I know he can handle himself, he's a bouncer, but if Marcus goes to prison, there is a considerable chance he will not come out alive. And the courts know that. Maybe even the judge knows that. He can't really say so, because it would be racist to say so. But a year in a British prison is like a year in a no-go zone in Malmo. It carries a high, or at least remarkable, probability of being a death sentence. I mean, Dankula's going to have an out, because he's the gas the Jews guy. And that tends to go down well with Muslims. And yet they're not being arrested for the anti-Semitism. They're being arrested for the murder and the rape. But see, for the rest of us, this is what they're setting us up for. What happened to Tommy Robinson can now happen to anyone. But most of us don't have the knowledge or experience that Tommy has. If you make fun of Muslims, even on the internet, you can be sent to prison, where you will likely be killed by Muslims. Trying to think of it, the only way to keep yourself safe from the shredding machine that is Western European Islam is to say, gas the Jews. Oh, wait. The guy did say that, and he's kind of... Yeah, no one is safe. No one. A lot of us Brits are at this very moment pondering whether or not to leave the country, to pack up shop and leave everyone to it. I don't know where you think you're going to go that's still safe from the encroaching shadow of hate speech. Texas, maybe. Apparently all 7 billion of us can fit into the state of Texas. Let's have a go, shall we? But here's the dilemma, fellow Brits. Are you going to fly the coop? Are you going to throw your hands up and not look back at the wreckage as your homeland is slowly turned into Britistan? Or are you going to stay here and fight to the bitter end, in at least the distant hope that you can help stop this madness? Even if nations aren't your thing, even if traditions aren't really your thing, what's worse? The tradition of the nation of Britain or the tradition of the nation of Britistan? What's the lesser of two evils here? And is it worth fighting for? And when I say fighting, I mean activism. We call it fighting because we're being poetic and romantic and perhaps a little bit cringy. But what we're talking about in the cold light of day is activism. As cringy as that also sounds. Yeah, it's cringy whether you analogize it or not. Because it's trying to do something. It's trying to be active. In the hope that you can stop yourself and others from going to jail for what you're doing on the fucking internet. So, yeah, write to your MP. Please, write to the PM. Sign a petition. Stand in front of Parliament with a sign. Stand in front of your town hall with a sign. Stand in front of your school with a sign. And if no one pays attention to you and no one comes up to you with a camera to ask you what you're doing or what your sign means, well, in that case, get your own camera and broadcast it yourself. Let them know. Let someone know that you object in the strongest terms in which you are able to object to this historic black spot in the story of British politics. I don't know what we do if this doesn't work. If activism doesn't work, I don't know what's going to happen if this doesn't work. I don't think I can even talk about it on social media without inadvertently committing a hate crime. So this is it. Your free speech is under attack, and if you don't exercise it now, you may never have the opportunity again. In this country or in any country. But control that anger as best you can. Make that anger useful. It goes without saying in any case, but do be careful writing enraged tweets about this. That was the first thing I wanted to do. Just go to social media and declare from the rooftops, I swear to God, this whole country is going to burn tonight. But, yeah, reality check, tweeting that kind of thing will get you arrested in this fucking country. Literally every day, UK citizens are getting arrested for offensive tweets. It wouldn't surprise me if many were arrested today alone for the anger they've expressed on social media regarding the Dankula trial. It's probably happened at least once, hasn't it? Someone's gone to jail for saying, hey, I don't think people should go to jail for things they say on social media. So try and not be one of them, folks. And don't capitulate to their rules, because that's the point. There's the very rules you're opposing. But don't get yourself arrested in the process. We're going to have to play this a little bit smart. Smart, but no less angry. That's why we do things passive-aggressively. So we don't get arrested. And I know I would say this, but you might want to do what I do. Take a step back. And think before you speak. Thereby leaving the option open of not speaking until you know what you're saying and you've found an audience that will listen. I'm gonna have to. All right, I'm off to do the Badger News now. I can't. Oh God, I'm so busy and stuff. All right, I'm gonna take a pill. I'm gonna take a pill and then regroup, and I'll see you in the Badger streams. I'll probably upload this while that's going on. This is nothing profound. Nothing inspiring or motivating for an ending. I can't do anything. I don't know. Just do something, please. All right, see you later.